Sodor was once again busy. Engines alike were delivering goods to passengers, and it was getting too much for them. Sir Topham Hatt had bought a new engine to help with the job. However, it was a diesel engine, who had had some pass with the engines. There were no other spare engines available, so we bought him in. The engines were getting ready for the day when they heard a familiar horn. Out from the shadows came a bright blue diesel engine. He purred quietly up to the turntable. "Everyone, I would like you to meet Ronald," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I know some of you might have some past with him, but he is willing to work. Henry, you will double-head your first train with him so he can get used to the line." Henry didn't want to do so, but didn't protest. As Henry was watching the diesel back down, he noticed something. He wasn't complaining, nor was being fussy. Henry realized maybe something was up with him. As they continued on the journey, he still was quiet. Henry decided to ask him if something was up when they reached Wellsworth Yards.
"Excuse me, Ronald, isn't it?"
Yes.
"You seem upset. What's the matter?"
Well, I don't know how the other engines will react to me. I've had a past with some of them, but I don't know what they'll think of me now."
"Don't worry about it," said Henry. "I know that engines can let go of their past. You just need to express how you feel."
But another thing I'm afraid of is how the diesels will react to my car so the steam engines. They have been brainwashed into thinking steam engines are very bad and are the worst engines in existence.
"Your opinions matter," said Henry. "Tell those diesel engines that it's what you think and that they can't change it. Also, I have a question for you. Why were you brought here?"
I was going to be scrapped. They're replacing many diesel engines with electric ones, and I was taken off passenger duties. Soon enough, British Rails had no use for me, and they sent me for scrap. I realised what you go through, and all the thoughts of scrap and being cold and alone. That's how I felt, until your controller saved me. I'm grateful for him for giving me a new lease on life, and I want to show the other engines too."
"I see. We could talk to the other engines at the sheds tonight."
This made Ronald feel better. Later that night, Henry and Ronald returned to the sheds. The engines were silent. Ronald then spoke up.
Everyone at this shed that hates me, I'm sorry. You don't have to accept my apology, but it would be greatly appreciated. I also can't really say anything else, other than I'm sorry.
The engines looked at each other and smiled. "I forgive you. Me too. Me 3. Henry winked at him.
"We'll practice with the other diesels on the mainland tomorrow."
The next morning, Henry and Ronald were waiting at a signal on the other railway when a diesel that both engines knew pulled up alongside.
Well, a clean engine, but not a sensible one.
Hey man, back off him!
Back off yourself, spam can. Those stupid steam engines are brainwashing you into thinking you're good, but really, they want to scrap you.
"Are you serious? Do you even think before you speak? Listen to you. You're saying that we will scrap diesel engines? You should be ashamed of yourself, scaring the living soul out of this poor engine. You shouldn't be allowed here or to run on rails. I suggest once that signal changes, you get going quickly."
The diesel was speechless and did just what the green engine told him. Ronald was very surprised.
Henry, how did you...
"Some engines have a breaking point. The diesel was being very rude to you, something you don't deserve."
Thank you, Henry.
And a tear came down the big diesel's eye. Henry knew the diesel he knew years ago had changed for the better. Now Ronald works on Sir Topham Hatt's railway, and he runs passenger trains and goods trains throughout the island. He is very happy and is very glad that he has Henry as a friend. was having a great time on the island of Sodor. He was friends with almost everyone, and was glad to be the engine that he is. However, he is teased by the diesels on the other railway when he takes goods trains there and back because of his views on steam engines, including a diesel numbered D261, a diesel who had visited Sodor once before and had made a fool out of himself. However, that changed one morning. One day, Ronald was waiting at the sheds to start work. He was talking with his friends when they heard a horn.
I know that horn.
A big green diesel quickly rolled onto the turntable and backed into a berth in the shed. His paint was worn and a worried look on his face.
Class 40, what are you doing here?
You were right, 199. They will scrap us diesels. I was going to be scrapped today, but I escaped. Please, let me live. Please, I'm sorry.
I don't know, but I'll see what I can do.
Maybe I can help, said a familiar voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt.
Please, sir, let me live. I know you'll send me away, and when I do, I'll be scrapped on the spot. Please, I'm not liked over there anymore.
I'm not very sure about that, Class 40. Last time you were on my railway, you made quite the impression.
I've changed, Sir Topham. Please, I'll do anything to be able to live on your fine railway.
Anything you say?
Please, sir, I know what he's talking about. The environment isn't safe for some of us diesels. I told you this when I was rescued. At least give him a small chance.
Very well, decided Sir Topham Hatt. But if you show that you are not capable of handling the work on my railway, I will have no choice but to send you back to the other railway.
Oh, thank you, sir. I won't let you down.
D261's first task was to take the express because Gordon was in the works having a yearly checkover.
Finally, I'm back to pulling the express again.
He did a wonderful job. The passengers sang his praises, and he was right on time at every station. Gordon was quite impressed to hear this when he got back. I say, if I can't take the express, I could trust you well. D261 was very happy. Over the next couple of days, he worked on the railway and did jobs with no fuss. Sir Topham Hatt noticed this and began to think. One morning, D261 had to take a goods train at Province Gate. He prepared his own train with no fuss. Hunter came alongside. Thanks for your help, man. It really helps me out with getting the trains ready. No worries. Now get back to Sunday before the yard becomes a mess. And once again, D261 left the station. The trucks wanted mischief.
He thinks he's so important, going around and shunting us.
We'll show how unimportant he is to Sir Topham Hatt. Then this big bumbling diesel will be gone in no time. The trucks giggled and began to scheme. D261 was doing well. He was having a fine time, but was unaware about what was going to happen. Now, the trucks surged forward, making the big diesel go faster.
What? Slow down, you lot!
But this wasn't his only worry. A steep bend was up ahead. It was the same curve James had had his first accident on his first day. Class 40 had to slow down for the curve, but the truck's mad rush wasn't helping.
It's much too late!
He shouted and braced. When the dust settled, D261 and the trucks were in a mess. The big diesel looked down at his buffers.
I've done it now.
Soon, Ronald arrived with the breakdown train, with Sir Topham Hatt. As you know, this accident puts you in a predicament, D261, said Sir Topham Hatt.
Yes, sir. I'll be sent away, won't I?
About that, your attitude and good performance has shown that you are a great addition to my railway. This accident is just a minor fault for your record. That's why, after you've been repaired, you will become a permanent member of my railway. Class 40 was very pleased.
Oh, thank you, sir.
However, you're not a Sodor engine unless you have a name. Is that one you'd like to have?
The diesel thought. I've always thought Regaby was a nice name.
Well then, welcome to Sodor, Regaby.
Once Regaby was prepared, he was back to pulling trains. He is now very grateful to be a member of Sir Topham Hatt's railway.
Bear is a friendly diesel engine who came to the island after being on trial. He came with a diesel whose number was 199. Bear had been at the works and was glad to finally get back to work. When he arrived at the big station to see what he had to do, he had quite the surprise. 199?
The name's Ronald, 7101.
Well, my name is Bear, Ronald.
Huh. Nice to meet you then, Bear.
What are you even doing here? Ronald told Bear all about how he became trusted by everyone again. Well, I know who to trust, and it's not you. And Bear roared away. He had another surprise when he arrived at the sheds. Bowler, I mean, 261? It's Regaby to you, Bear. Stop calling me that silly name. What's going on here? First 199 and now you? Whatever is happening? Regaby then told Bear about how he became trusted by everyone again. How? What? And everyone was that forgiving? Yes, it seems you won't. No! You all are horrid! I know your true colors. What's all this? Sir Topham Hatt walked sternly up. Ah, I see now. Bear, while you were in the works, I purchased both 199 and 261, after fear of them being scrapped. They are very grateful about their new look on life, and have proved to me that they are just as useful as you and the others. Humph, not to prove to me that they are useful. And that was that. Bear, Ronald, and Regaby did a lot of the same jobs, and sometimes double-headed their trains. While Bear saw a change in attitude in their work, he still wasn't very convinced. All until one rainy day. Bear was set to pull the express, as Ronald and Regaby had been called to do goods work. I hate the rain. It always seems to be trouble. Quite right. How full is the express today? Probably the fullest we could get it. You'll need help up Gordon's Hill. That train looks too heavy for one engine to do it themselves. You're right. I just hope it isn't those two shabby diesels. Who on earth are you talking about? 199 and 26. I mean, Ronald and Regaby. Why were you all so forgiving? You know what they said about you. Engines deserve a second chance, Bear. You of all engines would know that. Quite right. From what we heard, the mainland isn't the same anymore. It's... I won't be acting silly like you lot. I know the trouble they put me through, so it will be a big day on Sodor when I do forgive them. Finally, the guard's whistle blew, and Bear growled out of the station, hauling the heavy train. As they went along the journey, the damp rails were giving Bear trouble, and the rain poured into his face, which made it very hard to see. As Bear passed Wellsworth, Ronald and Regaby tried to say hello, but with Bear's disdain for them and his engine making lots of noise, he went on. Soon enough, Bear came to Gordon's Hill. The train was heavy, so his wheels slipped on the wet rails, which soon enough made him come to a standstill. His driver checked him out. Well, Bear, I'm afraid to say this, but we're stuck. We'll need some help. But who will help us? Surely not one engine can help push me up. I'm aware. I'll phone the station master and see what he can do. Back at Wellsworth, the station master came to see Ronald and Regaby. Bear's stuck on the hill. It'll require 2 engines to help him get going again. Do you think you can do it? We'll try. Soon, the 2 diesels came to the scene. Regaby positioned him behind the heavy train, and Ronald went up to see what he needed to do. Oh, great. They sent a failure of a diesel to help.
You won't like that Regaby is at the back ready to push. I'll go in front to help pull.
Bear just scoffed. Ronald switched lines, coupled up, and the 2 diesels honked to Regaby that they were ready. Soon, all 3 began to move. Or so it seemed.
need to help too.
And why should I? You seem to know everything.
Bear, if we don't get this train over the hill, the passengers won't get home. What will they do then?
Oh dear, I completely forgot about them. With that, Bear's engine roared to life, and the train began to move a bit faster. Then more, until the whole train crested down the other side. They soon arrived at the first station after the hill, where Ronald and Regaby could move off the train. As they went into a siding, the passengers stuck their heads out the windows and cheered. 3 cheers for Ronald and Regaby! As Ronald passed by Bear, he could see that he had a smile on him. Well, I hope it meant something good. When they got back to the shed that night, Bear spoke softly to Ronald. I'm sorry, Ronald. I can't see you have changed. You weren't thinking of yourselves. While hauling that heavy train, you thought about the passengers, which is what a really useful engine does.
Thank you, Bear, and I'm sorry for what I said during our days on the other railway. I hear you're an enterprising engine.
The two laughed, and talked a while more before going to sleep. Now Ronald, Regaby, and Bear are all great friends. They work together with no fuss, and Bear is glad that he accepted the 2 Diesels back into his life. Ever since Diesel had been sent to the scrapyard, he had been very quiet. Not a peep of teasing or snarling had come from him. He did his work, but seemed very shy when it came to talking to the other engines. Even the ironworks Diesel had seen a change in him. He doesn't like to talk to us much. No, not for a while. Not about scrapping or being revolutionary. It's just a silent treatment. All in all, the engines were quite suspicious of what devious Diesel was up to next. One afternoon, Diesel had bought a train of scrap to Wellsworth. Edward saw him and thought he'd say hello. Diesel, good to see you. Oh, Edward, you scared the life out of me. I see. Anyways, I have to dash. The ironworks need me. But you don't have to leave for another 30 minutes. Well, that doesn't mean I can't get moving. Diesel, wait. I'm sorry. Did I start something? Diesel stopped. Edward, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. Diesel, calm down. I'm right here. Please, tell me what's up. Diesel started to look very sick. It's not nice to talk about. I promise I won't tell anyone. Even my siblings? Even your siblings. Diesel took a deep breath and started. All right. Let me tell you about the most horrific night of my life. So Diesel began his story. Diesel had been naughty one too many times on Sodor. His most recent endeavor was trying to pull a train big enough for Henry, and proving he was not good enough to be a dockside Diesel, which prompted Sir Topham Hatt to get another engine instead. Diesel had been sent back home in disgrace, and he despised it. He told the others what he thought.
Pathetic! That railway is filled with useless old kettles who get their own programs and movies anyways. We are far superior than them. We are modern. Revolutionary.
Yes, even with those new high-speed engines, we still are far superior. Just then, the yard manager came up. Oi, you! Who? Me? Yes, you. Listen. Train trucks can be taken back to the scrap yards. You'll arrive at dark, then come here very early in the morning tomorrow. Get a move on. With pleasure. And Diesel began his journey. Nightfall came. He arrived at the scrap yards. For some reason, Diesel felt uncomfortable. He had been here many nights before, but this night fell off. Finally, those trucks from Bridlington arrived. Put them in the second farthest siding and be off with you. Diesel was quite confused. Surely people like to see me. I'm still revolutionary, aren't I?
He left the trucks in the siding. He was just about to go when he looked at an old shed. There looked to be an engine, ready for scrap. Diesel couldn't see properly at first, but then he looked closer and gasped. There was one of his siblings, ready to be scrapped. Hey, you.
How? What?
I know. Shocking. Lost for words, even. Listen, buddy. We may be revolutionary, but we are all getting older. Dieselization was so long ago. Now people are making these high-speed engines and electric locomotives. It may look like we will last forever, but one day, there will be a come when we aren't the future. We will all be replaced with something new one day.
But we are revolutionary, right?
For our time, yes, but there isn't much of a need for shunters. These high-speed trains don't need as much shunting for their coaches. My advice to you, though, is live your life to the fullest. You don't know when your life will come to an end. Just then, some men came. Get to work, one said. Then, Diesel watched through a small window outside the shed in horror as the diesel was cut up into pieces, smaller and smaller, till all that was left on the rails were his wheels. Diesel was so distraught he nearly began to cry. He left the scrapyards that night a very different engine. After that night, Diesel's work ethic began to drop. He was much slower than usual, and seemed distracted from shunting. The yard manager wasn't too pleased. One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to the yards to see the yard manager. Diesel overheard their conversation. This might sound strange, but I would like to buy Diesel. Why him? He screwed up on your railway and you didn't want him anymore, right? Well, Diesel has become very popular on my railway. Ever since he was introduced to the television program about us, children have wanted to see him. So, how about it? Yeah, sure. He's literally the worst performer in my yards right now, so... Great. Diesel, you're coming with me.
I honestly couldn't believe it. The man who I thought hated me was going to buy me. When he did, I was brought to the island and yeah... Diesel, that's an absolutely horrible thing to go through. I'm terribly sorry. How long has it been since you've talked about it? I've never said anything about it. I've tried to forget it, but after I screwed up at the cement works, it hit me. Edward, can we talk again? I really feel like you're the only one who cares about me right now.
Of course. Come see me anytime. I'll listen. With that, Diesel put on a brave face and rolled away. It's going to be a long road for recovery for him, Edward thought. Edward had arranged to meet with Diesel again after their last conversation. Once another train was set to go to Wellsworth, Diesel took the train to the yards. Edward was waiting. Hi, Diesel. Feeling better? No, I'm still off. I can see why. Anyways, if I remember correctly, the story goes that you saw one of your siblings being scrapped, correct? Yes, and it hasn't left my mind. I still see a clear image of it to this day. All right. If I may ask, why did you do what you did at the cement works? Fergus told me everything.
I don't know. I just thought causing trouble would help me forget about it. That clearly didn't work.
No, it didn't work. And I'm the only engine who knows about it, right?
Yes, you. Hello, Edward. What did you need to see me for?
Ah, Burko. Perfect timing. Diesel, I feel Burko here could help you out. He's a part of a failed class of engines, and he's one of the only survivors of his class. Please, tell him everything.
Reluctantly, Diesel did. Oh my goodness, Diesel. That's way too much for one single night. Listen, though. I am a part of the class of engines who failed on the mainland, and I remember hearing about my favorite brother being scrapped. I cried for several days, but I feel that getting to know the engines here and becoming a friend in their eyes will help tremendously. Having friends really helped as I was able to feel like I had so much support. And another thing? Tell the fat controller about how you feel. He always understands.
What do you say, old boy? Edward asked. Diesel pondered. He stayed silent for a while, which worried the other engines.
All right, I'll try.
That's the spirit. So Diesel did what Boko said. The other engines were quite surprised with what he said, but everyone gave him their full support. When he told Sir Topham Hatt, he relocated Diesel to Vickerstown Yards so he could get away from the scrapyard. He is quite the hard-working engine now, and remembers that, when times are tough, he always has his friends to rely on.